Congratulations on purchasing your new MH series vinyl cutter from USCutter.com. These tutorials have been designed to help get your new hardware and software up and running as quickly as possible. Take your time and feel free to watch all the way through before you begin, and be sure to check out USCutter.com's extensive selection of vinyl cutting equipment, materials, and supplies. We're really excited to be a part of your new project, and we know you're anxious to begin, so let's get started.
The order of our setup and installation is important, so as we move along, be sure not to get ahead. Topics we will cover throughout this tutorial include unboxing, stand assembly, blade holder setup, material loading, software installation, and sending your first cut. Unboxing and setting up your new MH series cutter is relatively easy and should be completed in about 45 minutes. Take note of any important document packages or advisory labels on the outside of the box. These will typically be located on the top flap and should be plainly visible. Be sure to keep all the documents that come with your equipment. Start by opening the top flap of the box. The cutter and accessories box should pull out with little effort. It might appear as though the box is now empty, but if your cutter came with a stand, there's still a second layer that needs to be removed. Pull the false bottom out to reveal the cutter's stand components. We'll set those aside for a while and unwrap our new cutter. Carefully remove the plastic shroud and any zip ties that were used to secure the carriage. Check to ensure that the carriage can move unobstructed from left to right, and that the carriage wheels are securely seated on the track. The accessories box will contain your stand parts, USB cable, null modem serial cable and power cable, as well as your dust cover. Your accessories box might also contain an equipment manual. All of the necessary drivers and users manuals for your equipment can be found on your USCutter installation disk, as well as at the start.uscutter.com website. Now that we've inventoried the cutter and accessories box, let's assemble the stand. Included will be 2 feet with wheels attached, 2 stand legs, 2 material roller bars, 2 roller bar brackets, and 1 crossbeam. Start by attaching the feet to the stand legs. Orientation is not important with this step, so just secure the first foot to the bottom of the stand leg with 4 screws. And then again on the other side. Next, we'll attach the crossbeam. The crossbeam attaches just below the 3 holes in the stand leg, with the rounded side of the stand leg facing out. Start a screw into the black sheath, set it on your drill or screwdriver, then place it into one of the vertically aligned holes in the stand leg. If you're not sure that you have the crossbeam properly oriented, the 3 holes above the crossbeam form a bit of a triangle, and the decal on the crossbeam should be facing out towards the point of the triangle. Now for the roller bar brackets. Start by inserting the small threaded silver receiver into one of the 3 holes on the stand leg. Place its paired bolt into the bracket. Then place the bolt into the corresponding hole in the leg. Do this for all 3 bolts and hand tighten them to keep the bracket in place. Once the bracket is on, you can tighten them up with your drill or screwdriver. Included with your cutter is a ground wire. The purpose of the ground wire is to allow any static buildup that might occur on the stand to dissipate into the electrical grounding system in the cutter. Attach the horseshoe-shaped connector to any of the black rounded screws on the base of the cutter. You can cut the other end to fit if you like, and strip it so that the bare copper wires are exposed. Wrap the exposed wires around any of the bolts on the nearest stand leg. We recommend scraping away some of the paint from around both connection points to ensure maximum functionality. The end goal for the ground wire is to have both points touching metal on metal, with no paint in between. Next, we'll cover how to set the depth of your blade. Different cutters use different styles of blade holders. Most are designed specifically to fit a particular machine or series of machines. For example, in this image, we can see that when 3 different blade holders are lined up side by side, the outer rings are on the same plane, yet the cutting ends of the blade holders stop at different lengths. The moral of the story here is, use only the blade holder meant for your cutter. You should be able to identify your cutter's blade holder as being one of these. The black one is a blade holder for an MH series. The silver one is for the SC, TC, and Laser Point 2, and the tungsten colored one on the end is for the Copom. Your cutter might also have come with a pen adapter. The pen is great for testing and troubleshooting issues, especially when you don't want to waste your vinyl material, so be sure not to lose it or throw it away. At this time, the Copom does not include a pen holder, but one is available for purchase from USCutter.com. If your cutter came with a 3-pack of blades, open the blade pack and remove a blade from the foam packing material. Then remove the red rubber protective cap. The red caps indicate a 45-degree blade, while the blue caps indicate a 60-degree blade. Be careful when handling the blade, as the cutting end is very sharp. Insert the cone-shaped end of the blade into the blade holder. The silver plunger on the end of the blade holder is meant only for removing the blade, so that you don't have to constantly readjust its depth. The ballpark length of blade that you'll want exposed will be equal to half the thickness of a credit card. Hold the blade edgewise against the side of your card. If the tip of the blade goes past or reaches the other side of the card as pictured, then you have too much blade. Note, this method is an approximation. Now let's test the depth of the blade. In this first method, you'll need some vinyl material. Holding the blade holder straight up and down, cut a circle. Our goal is to only cut the vinyl material without cutting into the backing. Looks like we have too much blade. Loosen the copper set screw on the blade holder. Reduce the amount of blade showing by a quarter or half turn, then tighten the set screw back up again. This test looks good, but as we'll see, the blade is still cutting too deep into the backing. That can dull our blade and make weeding difficult. Conversely, if the blade is set too shallow, the vinyl will be difficult to weed and can cause the material to tear. With just a bit of trial and error, you'll have the blade set to just the right depth. In this next method, like before, take the blade holder with the blade inserted, as shown, and keeping the blade holder straight up and down, cut a circle. Don't be afraid to use a bit of force. The goal for this test is to set the depth of the blade so you can cleanly cut a circle out of a single sheet of paper, while barely leaving a scratch on the piece of paper directly underneath it. If you cut through any more than a single sheet of paper, you have too much blade exposed, and you'll need to recalibrate the depth of your blade. For more detailed instructions and tutorials, please visit start.uscutter.com or take a look at the tutorials as listed on your USCutter setup and installation disc. Now let's put our blade holder into our carriage and load some material. Loosen the copper thumb screw to the left of the carriage, then insert your blade holder. Make sure that the metal ring around the outside of the blade holder is sitting flush on top of the carriage arm, and that it's in the position closest to the cutter. Tighten up the thumb screw, but don't over-tighten it. Before we can load our vinyl, let's take a look at our pinch rollers and where they need to go. Lift the pinch roller levers to the up position and slide them so they will be evenly spaced across the vinyl. The white sticker in the center means that you cannot place a pinch roller there, because there's no feed roller underneath it. To set the pinch rollers down onto the material, simply lower the pinch roller levers in the back of the cutter. If your cutter came with a stand, place some vinyl on the material roller bars, then load it into the back of the cutter. To ensure you're loading the material squarely, use the ruler lines in the front and back of the machine. Line up the edge of the material with the corresponding mark, first in the front, then in the back. Once you have them both lined up, lower the pinch rollers. With the cutter's power cable plugged in, turn the cutter on. The carriage will automatically move from left to right and stop at its default home origin. The home origin is where the cutter will begin when it starts each cut, and it will move from right to left across the material. To maximize the use of your vinyl, you can change where the cutter begins cutting. Adjusting the home origin is simple. Press the offline button. You will see the LCD screen change to display X and Y with zeros. This indicates the carriage's current home position. Use the left and right arrows to move the carriage, and the up and down arrows to feed the material in and out. Once you have the blade positioned where you'd like it to start, simply press the origin button. Changing the cutter's speed and force, or pressure, is even easier. At the home screen, with cut speed and cut press displayed, use the up and down arrows to change the speed. And the left and right arrows to change the force. For standard vinyl, the typical cut speed will be about 500, and the typical cut pressure should be 100. If you're cutting thicker or denser material, such as reflective vinyl or sandblast resist, you may want to slow the cutter down and increase the pressure. Before we're done, we need to check that the cutter's baud rate is properly set. Your cutter's baud rate is the speed at which it will accept information from the computer. The baud rate on your cutter should be set to 4800. Press the setup button, then press the left or right arrows to change the baud rate. When 4800 is displayed, press the reset button, and you're done.